Welcome back to our real-life scenario. We back with another week.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm good.
I'm good too.
How are you?
I'm doing well. First, I want to shout out all of our great, amazing listeners.
Yes.
Y'all get a shout out every episode because without
of,
y'all, we'd be here talking to ourselves, which we don't mind.
We don't mind. We talk to each other anyway.
We talk to ourselves.
But we don't need to do all of this just to talk to each other. We could just, you got my number, I got your number.
For sure.
Yes, our listeners are amazing.
And I am glad that a lot of people listened to my call out or our call out over the past 2 episodes of like trying to, help us get our reviews up and stuff like that.
Listen.
And I appreciate that. I got a goal.
Okay, let's hear it.
I got a goal for the end of September. This is ambitious. We're at 75, I think, ratings right now, 5-star ratings. I have a goal for 200 by the end of September.
I'm going to help you get there.
Okay.
Not just because I'm the co-host of Real Love Scenario, so that's already my vested interest for this.
Got you.
But my birthday is coming up.
Oh, shucks.
My birthday is September
Ooh, is that a
30th.
birthday
So
wish?
I'm just going to put this on my birthday request list. Like, go and if you love me, you want to get me something for my birthday? I take Cash Apps too, but
yes, she does.
I would prefer that first. So start that now as a pre-birthday. For my birthday month, go and give us a 5-star review.
I love that.
Yeah, close out the month strong. And my birthday is the last day of the month. It's September 30th.
Yeah, that's the best way to close out the month.
Boom. You heard it here first.
That's lying Libras? Is that?
Oh, wow.
That's how I remember it now.
Y'all gotta just...
What they call them mnemonic devices is that in order to remember something, you attach something to it so that you remember it.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what that's called, but
yeah,
I want you to unattach line to Libras ASAP, okay? Cut it out right now. I just had a whole debate. I'm not going to go off on a tangent too far. Right. Is she a liar?
October 8th.
Right.
What did we talk about last episode? Convenient lying.
We all do that. But I just had a whole debate with someone about zodiacs because I just feel like I just can't invest that much energy into keeping up with people's personality traits in connection to their zodiac signs.
Yeah.
Like, just because I'm a Libra doesn't mean I'm going to act exactly like whatever that says in writing, right? Like,
you know what my thing about zodiacs is?
What?
And this is probably a whole nother episode that we could get into.
For sure. Somebody write in about zodiacs so we could talk about it.
Is that I think the thing with zodiacs is that we all are a lot more alike than we think. That's all it is.
That's it.
Because every trait of every sign, we all can identify with to a certain extent.
For sure.
So
I read
it's
things that's like Aries doesn't like to be lied to. I'm like, meanwhile, I'm a Libra. I don't like to be lied to either. Like, can't possibly just be an Aries trait.
Right.
Like, whatever. Anywho.
And everybody likes to take credit for the good things about their sign.
Exactly. So that's my soapbox about zodiacs. Please don't bore me or pigeonhole me to what it says about Libra. Some of it is true. Line is not one.
How was your weekend? What'd you do?
It was good. You know what? I had absolutely no plans for this weekend, which is not
amazing.
Yo,
oh my gosh.
I can see it on your face. If y'all are watching, did y'all see Dre like
that ain't nothing
that
like
love?
Because when you busy and you always got stuff going on,
I'm trying to tell
and
you, man.
Like Brie and I, we went to Ari Lennox had a listening party at the Gathering Spot, so we did that, which was really dope for a new album. Shout out to her.
Yeah,
that is somebody that I would love to have on the show.
Yeah,
remember, I talked about that like a long time ago.
For
It's like
sure.
Ari Lennox would be amazing. She's my favorite. But it was great. It was dope.
Nice.
Congrats to her for the album. But then after that, Bree drove to Cleveland and literally I had a house to myself with nothing, no plans, no nothing for like 2 days. And I'm just like,
peace.
Oh my gosh.
Peace. Yeah, that's how
doesn't happen at all.
I was so looking forward to going into the weekend with no plans. And so things popped up.
Yeah.
But everything was just like easy. Like I spent time with one of my closest friends and we went to lunch and just kicked it at her house like all night. Like we wound up being together for like 12 hours.
Yeah.
Didn't mean for that to happen, but it was a great experience. And then I like took my time yesterday, went to the grocery store, I cooked. It was a great, restful weekend.
I love that for you.
So it was good.
Good. You ready to hop in?
Let's do it. So this week we have a write-in from, first of all, thanks for writing in.
Thank you.
She says, hi, Rhonda and Dre. I'm a listener of your podcast all the way from California, West Side. I appreciate your maturity. that provides quality and value to your audience on your podcast. I'm 30 and my partner is 32. We are in a long-term relationship. We've been together for 7 years now, and we've talked about marriage and family frequently. Recently, my father granted our blessings to marry. It is a beautiful feeling that my father approved of this soon-to-be union because safety, security, healthy partnership, and other godly attributes are my dad's requirements for his daughter's suitors. However, I want that there are other things I want to accomplish and attain as an individual before marriage. I kind of botched that sentence, but I think what she's saying is there are other things she wants to accomplish before she gets married.
Yeah.
As an example, I've wanted to purchase a home of my own, complete my college degree, continuously practice financial responsibility with stability, then subsequently marry. These self-attainments are important requisites to me before I know and can provide or contribute to another person and or family. My partner, on the other hand, is down to help me build and achieve these things. I do not mind this enthusiasm. I think having a partner and support in partnership is a beautiful thing. We love each other so much that our rough patches and we've overcome obstacles. They have personally transformed our characters and made us better lovers. I don't intend to make her feel wrong, which she stated I have, for not conforming to traditional practices. I can't get over my hyper independence around my friends and family's trauma. I've seen some women live with limited ideas that only feel fulfilled or experience success is only through marriage, even if it's not the best person, and they would eventually divorce. As a result of that, these women are left with no security in their education, and then that limits their careers and financials. You may be familiar with situations of women that spend their energy on their partners, but hardly attained any of their own. I want my partner to experience individual goals before goals for us to attain as a couple. We are both fully invested in each other, but I do not want this personal desire of mine to make my partner feel like we shouldn't continue and get married. Am I wrong for wanting to exercise my individuality as a woman since I have more access to opportunities in this day and age? Is replanning my life goal equate to self-deprivation? Am I wrong for being untraditional to secure myself before another? I would love to hear your insights.
Wow.
That was a lot. That was a lot. I appreciate the details. I really do. I even reached out to get additional details because I'm so excited to dive into this topic of the overall theme of hyper independence.
I'm ready to dive into it too. And
Dre is like, huh.
One thing, so you guys will never know this or ever hear the name, but people give us our submissions, and at the end it says, check if you want to be anonymous. And at the bottom it says they want to be anonymous. So you won't know this person's name as it gets said.
I missed that.
It'll be beeped out.
Sorry. Damn, I usually check for that. Sorry.
I'm just looking at the bottom like,
I'm glad that Dre caught that before this episode goes to public and that you will bleep this person's name out. Wow. All right.
Oh, man.
Private
okay.
You shall remain.
Maybe I should go back to the other episodes and see.
I usually look for that.
Good,
I just did not do it today.
Okay.
Yes, I normally look for that.
Okay, let's hop into the scenario.
All right.
So, Rhonda, can you let us know what hyper independence is, just to kind of set the table for?
Yes, absolutely. So hyper independence is when you choose to be independent of everyone, even though it may negatively affect you. And it is most classified as a negative trauma response and stems from negative experiences from previous relationships.
Got you. Love that. So let's hop into it. Where do you want to start?
I think we just need to kind of explore hyper independence a little bit.
Okay.
And the reality of the fact that it is it's a trauma response most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And two, that it's a negative trauma response, because some trauma responses are positive. Like, you went through something, they say hurt people, but
sure.
That's not always true. Sometimes hurt people become hyper focused on like not hurting people because they experience that trauma.
I heard a saying, sorry.
No, you're right.
That I thought it was always good. It was like a guy. It was two brothers,
Okay.
and they both had like an alcoholic father, who was really bad alcoholic and like abusive and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And one of the brothers was just like the dad,
Okay.
right? And was abusive, alcoholic, and everything like that. And then the other brother was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And then when somebody together asked them, how did you end up this way? They both said, being who my father was, how could I not be? And I just thought that reminds me of that as well, like that situation, because it's like,
for sure,
people respond to it in different
totally
ways.
differently. Yeah.
And I wonder if there is like a science behind that or not, or if people like, if how one
like how
takes
you
on the traits
chemically,
versus
like, is
the
it a
other.
chemical thing almost? Like, how do you know how you're going to turn out from
based
the
off
trauma
of,
you experience?
exactly.
Yeah. It sounds like in this person's scenario, when I was reading it, they said, I can't get over my hyper independence trauma that's rooted in what their friends and family members have experienced, almost as if this is not from them themselves. It is what they see around them as hyper independence. And I mean, I think, obviously, let's walk it back a little bit. So being independent, it, to me, in a nutshell, is just, you are more than likely an adult, right? To be independent, you're probably an adult, and you take care of yourself.
For sure.
Right? Like, you, whatever that looks like, most of us attach it to a job. So you're employed, you make money, and you use that to take care of and provide a life for yourself. But it can also look like other things, like church and therapy and getting your nails and your hair cut, or all the other things that you do to like take care of yourself. But essentially, you're not depending on anyone else for your sustainability. That's independence.
Yes.
Hyper independence, using all that same explanation, is when you go OD on it. Like, you literally won't even take help if it was offered to you. You won't even entertain that idea of actual partnership because you're like, I gotta get it myself. And I understand that feeling, because I felt that feeling, but only when within a relationship have I felt that feeling. So that's kind of the connection here. But it was a response to that person not holding up their end of the partnership. So then I became hyper independent, where it's like, I can't even rely on him. Like, I'm not, because he's shown me that I cannot rely on him. I've never entered into a relationship already in that mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neither, I can't identify with being hyper independent.
Yeah.
I believe that both Bree and I are both independent within our own relationships. And I feel like that's the way it kind of should be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just find this situation very interesting, because it seems like she said in the submission, it's a fear thing. Like, and one thing that you had said that really struck me was the family from the trauma, like the trauma from the family and things like that. I feel like that happens a lot when it comes to like marriages or when you're entering into marriages and relationships, a lot of people try to warn you of things, and it's based off of their own trauma. Like, it happens so much.
Yes.
Don't take this person's last name, because if you get divorced, then you don't want to go through this and go through that, and they take this and his name is all over your stuff. So if I were to do it again, I wouldn't take his last name. I wouldn't do it. And then it's like, you get that with stuff like that. But then also, I can see with the career thing, I gave up everything for him and that person. So, going forward, I don't do it.
That's it.
Think about you. Like, and I feel like those type of things can influence you, and they're like traumatic things that, like, okay, maybe I should
reconsider what's natural to me. Now I'm like, you people start getting in your head.
Exactly.
And now,
that's their own insecurities a lot of times.
Exactly. I hated that, it seems like it's not coming like naturally from her, but then she also kind of explains, like, these are requisites and these are things that will like fill her cup. And I do think sometimes people don't make room for that within partnership, like within a relationship. Like you said, you and Brie are both independent within your relationship, but within other relationships around you. But I think a part of that is because you both make room for that. I don't know if it was like listen, we're going to be together and I need you to notice my list of things that I got to do on my own. You know what I'm saying? Like, that feels very like formal.
Yeah.
But I think if you're getting to know someone and then you move into a relationship, and then in y'all's case, you move into marriage, I think you spend enough time with them to know the things that they really enjoy or that they do for themselves to maintain their individuality. They don't necessarily look like, I want to buy a house on my own and get financially stable outside of this relationship, because she said her and her partner have been together for 7 years. So she's 30. So that's since 23. If I was with someone for 7 years and I got with them at 23 and they want to marry me now, if I was buying a house, it's just to have it as a second, like an investment property, or maybe something like a retirement home, maybe for later in life. But at this point, I would want to purchase a home with my partner who I'm about to marry. I wouldn't need to prove my financial stability by getting the house on my own.
Well, I think that this has nothing to do with the partner, has everything to do with her.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people do, is that you fall into the trap of falling in love with the idea of, or you attach yourself to where you thought you wanted to be at this moment. Yeah. So it's like, oh, when I get married, I want to have this, and this in a row. And when you're not there yet, you're kind of freaking out, because in your head, you kind of attached yourself and fell in love with this idea that before you got married, these things would be checked off. And it's like all the things that she mentioned in this submission, you can do those things within a marriage, within a partnership. You can go to school and finish your degree. You can get a house. I don't know why, if you know you want to marry somebody, why you would want to get a house on your own.
Exactly.
And not with that person. But all the things, the job, the career things, what you don't realize is that, and what I understand through marriage is that you should come into the relationship whole. And if you come into the relationship whole, that person can help elevate whatever you're trying to do.
Exactly.
That's why I always say a relationship is two wholes growing together. It's growing together.
Yeah.
And partnership is two individual entities coming together to partner, to grow, to build. And it's like you can accomplish these things in your relationship.
Absolutely. And I think when you said, I don't know why you would want to purchase a house outside of your partner, well, you answered your own question earlier when you said it's based in fear.
Exactly.
But I think she's potentially making her partner feel like, not with intention, like it sounds like a happy relationship for sure. But what she's doing is almost planning for the end. All these things are making your partner feel like you're creating plan B. You're already creating a fallback plan if this doesn't work out. You want to buy this house and make sure you can afford it on your own with the degree that you have, with the job that you have, because some part of you feels like, well, this might not work out. So I got to have all this stuff in the tuck.
And that's the difference between people like, oh, we've been together for 10 years. We don't got to get married. It's basically the same thing. It's like, no, that's the difference right there, is that full commitment, like to where it's different if, we say, hey, we're going to stay in this room. We're going to have fun. We're going to stay in this room forever. But the door remains open.
Yeah.
Versus like once that door is closed, locked shut, and it takes a lot more effort to get out that door now, then people start to act a little different and feel a little different. And that's the difference. And it sounds like she's, like you said, scared of making that full commitment to her person. And I would be upset too. Like if you tell me you are looking to buy a house on your own and already got your dad's blessing to get married, I got your dad's blessing to get married, and we're looking at marriage and spending like marriage in what it's supposed to be, and what I think most people do or mean when they propose somebody, it's like, I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
Right.
So it's like the fact that you are talking about buying a house on your own and we are supposed to be spending the rest of our lives together,
right,
doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. And the thing is that if you really want to be with this person, if you guys kind of bring what you bring to the table and what they bring to the table, the financial burden would be a lot easier on you guys. Yeah. What you'll be able to afford and do would be a lot more if you guys just do it together in partnership. And you can still, like you said, have your own individuality within that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the purchase in the home is, I think, the thing that stands out the most. I was having a conversation with one of my friends about trying to be more cognizant, especially now that, I'm using my voice on a platform.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to speak and try to cover every group and every potential scenario. It's too hard to speak in those generalizations every single time.
Yeah.
But what I told her was that I want to be more thoughtful around my language when it comes to calling things normal or not normal or abnormal or weird or strange, because family dynamics and relationship dynamics can vastly change. Like, there are people who are married to multiple people, right? Like, and that's the union, that's the family. They did that on purpose. Like, husband has two wives, wife has two husbands, or household is two moms and two kids, not mom and dad and two. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to be more thoughtful about that. I think in this situation, and obviously the person who wrote in is in a lesbian relationship or same sex relationship. I think women, we just almost kind of come sometimes with this fear of not being able to take care of ourselves, because we can see, whether it was from women in our family or our friends, or you just look in history and you remember, you can look back. It doesn't take far. You don't have to go back that far to find when women could not take care of themselves, not just because they did not want to. Legally, they could not. They were not allowed to read or write or attain education. And so marriage, in that older traditional sense, was a part of a woman's independence. She only became independent from her family, her birth family, by becoming dependent through a marital family.
Yeah.
And so now, obviously, we're to some degree light years ahead of that, where women can and for the most part easily get the same 24 hours in a day. We can be presidents, CEOs, we can be housewives, we can be whatever we want to be today. But you kind of still have this little feeling of, like, especially if you've been single. In her case, she's been in a relationship for a long time, but when you've been single and you have just been doing it for yourself, you do sometimes forget that, like, you were designed for companionship. Human beings are designed, our species is designed for companionship, whether that's through friendship, family, romance. But there is, specifically in romance, an inherent desire to have companionship. Even if it's just carnal, you want it. You some part of your body tells you need that. Chemically, it tells you need that. So I can only imagine trying to put myself in her partner's shoes, because I understand her shoes to some degree. That if I'm with a person who consistently, or is now at the introduction of marriage, now making almost like you have apprehensions, like, oh shit, like you kind of freaking out, like, I don't know if I want to relinquish all of my individuality because I don't need you. So kind of all of that leads me to my question to you, which is, do you think it's important to have or to feel needed in a relationship? Not just wanted, but like, I depend on you to some degree. Do you think that's an important dynamic to have?
That's essential. Like, I think that's one thing that women have to understand about men. So although this situation is
Same sex.
it's a same sex couple, the reason why I started Relationship Restored and it's going to be family and friends is because at the foundation, all relationships, I think, have the same core things that make them great. But in this situation, I'll talk about, like, in what you just asked me, I want to flip it back to men sometimes too, because I feel like women don't understand this with men, is that men want to feel needed.
Yeah.
And really it's not even as much needed as I just got to feel like I'm the only one who can do this thing for you, or I'm special in some type of way. I'm different than anybody else you could have chose from, that I'm the one that you need in this situation and in the things that you're doing versus anybody else. So yeah, I think it's essential to feel needed in a relationship. If somebody who wants to be somewhere that they're not needed,
Right.
or even wanted, it's like, who wants to be in that situation? Nobody.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with you. And I don't even think it's unique to men. I think when you compare men and women, I think it's potentially more important. More
important, significant to men, I guess, is that, like, to feel needed.
Yes, exactly. So I'm like, I want to have and I learned this watching something, an interdependent relationship, which does actually, the core of that is that we need each other. Now, we may not need each other for every facet of survival, right? Like, I don't need you to, like, feed me. I got money, I can buy food for myself.
For sure.
But I actually need you I need you in my life, and I don't mind saying that. I do rely on your love. I rely on your commitment to me. I rely if we have kids. I rely on you being a good father. I do actually rely on you. I rely on sharing responsibilities in this household with you. I rely on you making me feel
Yeah.
special, like you said.
And let me say this too, is when you ask a question, you say like, is it important for somebody to feel needed? I think everything isn't always as it seems. And I think you can talk to somebody and communicate with somebody and interact with somebody to where they can feel that you need them without you actually needing them.
Yes.
So at the core of your relationship, I don't feel like you should need anybody to be happy, to feel loved, but the way that you interact with your partner and the way that you converse with them, touch them, everything that you do, they should feel like you need them.
Yes.
That should be the feeling, that should be the perception that nobody else can make me happy but you. Nobody else can make me smile but you. And when it comes to the quality time that I have, you're the only one that will really bring me joy in having this quality time. Even though that may not be true, they should feel that feeling that you are the only person. And I think in this situation too, that I would be kind of put off or upset if I was her partner, because it's like, as we go through this relationship, this is only step one. Like, we're going to go through so many other things. And if you're just going to shut me off every time because you want to handle things yourself and try to do it all yourself, what you think is you handling it and putting all the pressure on you and making me not worry about it, it affects me.
Yeah.
So it affects both of us. You think you're not affecting me by being like, I got it. Stand over there. Don't worry about it. I got it.
You are hitting the nail on the head.
But no, that affects me too.
Yes.
Because when you stressed out because you can't handle it all, you acting crazy towards me.
Yeah.
Because you upset. Or like, I see the anger and frustration, and then when I try to reach out, you lash out at me.
For sure.
And be like, I got it. Like,
and it's a form of rejection.
Yeah, it is.
Right. Telling your partner I'm good all the time. Like, that's language that you're going to use in any situation. It's times where we're here in production and I'm helping you. I'm like, I got that. And you like, you're just doing it. It's not, I'm not offended by it. But when you keep doing that in a relationship, it's like, it's no way for your partner to not feel like rejected and or like distrusted. Like, you don't trust them to even help you. Like, it's not that you cannot do it. I don't want a partner who doesn't think that I can do things, but I would much rather do a lot of things. If I'm choosing partnership, for God's sake, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
If I'm choosing that, then I want you to help me. There are things that I may not want help with. Like, one of my exes, he couldn't cook, but he always wanted to help with that. I don't want you to help me with that, right? You can help me with cleaning the dishes, though, because that's an important part of preparing food in the household. You can help me by setting the table. That's also an important part of this process. But I don't want you picking the seasonings, shaking those seasonings in it. I don't want you touching none of the food, because that's the part that I play in this. But we still partnered on preparing that meal. You were a valuable part of that. Like I said, cleaning is a part of that. Setting the table is a part of that. So I think, in her situation, it's like, to me, you got to kind of break it down and really express to your partner that, well, one, you have to realize that being hyper independent is a negative thing. And I think writing into us, you already have some sort of indication of that, right? That this is not the best way to be. But your partner, no different than we talk about trauma on any other episode, your partner has to be brought in on this thing that you're struggling with so that they can support it and figure out how to potentially help you. They can't fix it for you, right?
Yeah.
But potentially help you navigate it so that you can get out of that space. Going back to the house thing, because I feel like I want to say one more thing about that. When you said like making your partner feel completely special, and like even if they're not the only one that can make you smile, making them feel that way, it's like telling your partner you want to buy a house and sustain it so that you know that you're financially stable. I mean, okay. But you could also just kind of say it in a way like, I want to get an investment property and I want this to be a part of my investment portfolio, right? Like, I think you can have individual financial goals within a relationship.
Yeah.
Now, you may very well in the back of your mind know, should this break up in 20 years and I still got that investment property in my portfolio, I could live there. Okay, if you know that in the back of your mind, cool, but don't present it to your partner like, before we get married, I need to go buy this, go and take care of it. I assume potentially live in there. And again, this is where I went off on a thing about untraditional things and not calling them like weird.
Yeah.
But there are some couples who really would like, they mostly live apart. They're together, they're in a relationship, but they actually choose to habitate separately.
Yeah.
If that is a design that you want for a set period of time within this relationship, it doesn't sound like you have the person that you're going to be able to do that with. It doesn't sound like that. You're going to have to find someone, to me, which is like a needle in a haystack, to find a person who can say, I'm okay with being married to you, but us living in different households.
Yeah.
I think married people get there after being married for like 25, 30 years. Like, go get your own damn house, please. But that you could just say, you know, you want to do it and make it an investment, but maybe you feel like you can't because that will pull away from the finances you would be needing to maintain in your marital home. I don't know, but I think that one stands out the most. Like you said, the degree, your partner is in support of that. Your partner is seemingly in support of a lot of the things that you want to do on your own, but it's other things that make them feel like, well, then why am I really here? If you need to accomplish all of this before I marry you, then how much time are we talking about?
Yeah.
How long is it going to take you to do all this stuff? Just, no, like, especially after investing 7 years into the relationship. Now, how much more years do you want me to invest until you feel completely self-sufficient and hyper independent? How much more time do you need? Because listen, 5 years from now, you can come up with some other things that you need to
That's what I was saying.
accomplish before you get married.
Like this is the first step in this. It's some people use red flags as not move forward, but it's a proceed with caution thing, or really something to take notice of, because it's like, yo, we're in the beginning stages of what could possibly be vowing to spend the rest of our lives together.
Yeah.
And this is the position that you're taking at this moment.
Yeah.
Doesn't
feel good.
Doesn't feel good. Doesn't make sense to me if I was in that position. And obviously with the person that you're with, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to them. Especially because this person probably knows you and if they've been with you for 7 years, they probably rock with you through some.
Yeah, I mean, they were both young, 23 and 25. So, I mean, you were in a developmental, and still are, but you were in a very early developmental place in your life. So they've already been there for things that you've done over the last 7 years.
Seen you grow, seen you build, and all that stuff like that. So they're like, she's probably looking like, what?
Yeah, yes. And it almost begs to ask the question, is this really about your hyper independence, or are you just not sure if I'm the person for the rest of your life?
That's true.
You know, like why seemingly now?
But I mean, because the thing is that, let me just break it down to this person simply, anonymous, is that if you recognize that you're hyper independent, just even the word independent, hyper independence, and think about the word partnership, which is what a marriage truly is. Does that go together? It can't. It doesn't work. So if you are hyper independent, you don't seem to be ready for partnership. No. And for this marriage and for this relationship. So you owe it to your partner to kind of work through whatever thing. So I wouldn't even say, and I'm not going to suggest you step away from the relationship, but if you were to step away from the relationship, I wouldn't say it would be due to the hyper independence and you, in the sense of you needing to get a house and this and that to be comfortable and whole before you get in a relationship. You would need to step away from the relationship more because you need to get yourself together and work through your own traumas of why you have this hyper independence, because it'll never work in partnership. It's not about the house, the car, the degree. It's about your fear of letting go and letting somebody help you. And I'm here to tell you that I don't know what the Bible say. It's a saying, Bible, whatever. I'm long removed from quoting that type of stuff. But basically, it's that 2 is stronger than 1. That's all I'm saying.
There we go.
And 3 is stronger than 1, and 3 is stronger than 2. It's like together you can accomplish more together. Look at all the great people in history, man. They had a partner.
And in no way is Dre or I telling you not to explore and support your individuality, because that is a part of that's what makes you you.
Oh, for sure.
100%. Like, you're not selfish for having goals for yourself. I think that was one of her questions. Am I selfish? Of course you're not selfish for having goals for yourself. I don't know I shouldn't say I don't know anybody that don't have none, child, because that would be a lie. But most people have goals for themselves.
Yeah.
It's from small things to big things. It's just a matter of how you want to accomplish them, and figuring out which ones are counterproductive to your partnership.
Yeah.
And if you find that like it's that much of a head bump, I mean, so who would fold, right? Like, do you want your partner who has been your partner for 7 years to be like, yo, I've been doing this with you, like, why now? This is seemingly new for your partner.
Yeah.
And this is something that maybe you felt and had inside of you for a long time. Don't know if it's been fully communicated. It has been to some degree, because your partner says they don't like the way this is making them feel. So how do you get around that? Like you said, how do you have partnership when you want individuality so badly? And again, as a woman, I really do get it. The last thing I would want to do is put, I'm about to laugh because somebody said the other day, who came up with this stupid saying, put all your eggs in one basket? Don't you get your eggs in one basket? Like, you know what I mean? Like, ain't that where they supposed to be? Like, who carried around 5 baskets for 5 eggs? Anywho, but you don't want to put, I too sometimes probably think about, like, could I really be in a relationship where I didn't work? That conversation has come up before. Like, if I got with a man who was like, you don't have to lift a finger, like, for employment, I'm gonna take care of every financial need you have in your life. And I mean, I will pay for the small things and the big things. Could I really do that? And the truth is, I don't know if I could do that forever. Is that rooted in hyper independence? I don't really know. I guess it's a thing I would have to explore if I got there. But some part of working, I feel it is an individual accomplishment. Like, working makes me feel accomplished. It makes me feel like I'm contributing something to the world other than just sitting around and being kept. But trust me, I can dial the hours back, baby.
Yeah.
I don't need to work 40 hours a week. I could honestly work like 8 a week.
Well, I mean, I think that it's
8 a month.
I can say this being married, even though I'm married for only a year and a half. Mm-hmm. Well, over a year and a half now, I guess, but not 2 years yet. Mm-hmm. And being with my wife for 5 years, we've gone through like a mixture of, like, not necessarily independence, but kind of a feeling of independence to a certain extent. And the one thing I can say is that I think it is important to have your independence, and like we said, you can find that in relationships, but I want to kind of give my real life scenario in a sense of different things that Bree and I went through.
Yeah.
So initially when Bree and I got together, Bree was moving from Cleveland, for those who don't know, and she was kind of in a transition phase with her business, and I was working in property management. Mm-hmm. And through that, I was more of the stable one, kind of knew what I was doing, had this thing that was set. Mm-hmm. She was kind of in limbo as like, what the heck am I doing? Mm-hmm. What I did was that I supported her. Without my support, I don't know where she would have been, especially here, because she didn't have any income really coming in at the time. Yeah. I said, move in with me. I'll take care of the things I'm already taking care of, the roof over your head, the roof over our head, the food, everything like that. Yeah. I'm not paying your bills, so you're going to have to pay your own bills, but I'm at least giving you the space in this relationship to kind of figure it out and figure out what you want to do. And that's when I had came up with the idea of like this whole social media and branding thing, and like, you're good at this and stuff like that. And that became her thing, and she was able to grow and be independent in that. And that was so successful that I quit my job and we started that business together. I was the business side, she was the branding side. But then throughout that time, she started to have her thing, and I realized, like, oh shoot, I don't have my thing now anymore. Like, I have the business side and I do the books and, set up the systems and everything like that. But I don't necessarily right now have a skill, like a skill set that I could just go out and like make money from, like she can do with the social media and branding. So she had to give me the opportunity in that moment to figure it out. And that's when I picked up photography and videography. And now I've flown to Abu Dhabi. I've done like podcasts. Like, so now, even though I don't think ultimately I'll end up being a videographer or photographer.
Right.
I now have that skill set
Mm-hmm.
to know that if anything ever were to happen, I have this thing that's mine that nobody could take away, that I built in this relationship, that I can provide for myself
Yeah.
outside of this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that is the way that you know,
Ebb and flow.
you ebb and flow in the relationship. And I will end by saying this, is that I don't think it's wrong necessarily to not really draw out all the way in like detail, but think about what, if things didn't work out, what that would look like and how that could be. I mean, even in my head, I have a thought process in my head of like, oh, if this thing with Bree ever went to like crap and like everything blew up, nothing worked, or everything fell apart, I kind of know in my head how I would like have to operate in order to get myself stable again, or in order to make sure myself is good. And I don't think there's anything wrong. I think it's a natural thing to think about.
It's a part of survival.
It's a part of survival,
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
To think about like, if this situation doesn't work out, no matter how great it is, or something were to happen, how would I,
Yeah.
manage the situation? It's no different. That's why we all have insurance, right? Health insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance,
all for just in
life
case.
insurance. It's all for just in case something happens that I don't foresee or don't plan to happen. This is just something I have in place. Doesn't always make me whole. Like if my wife dies, the life insurance money doesn't make me whole.
No, like I want her back.
I would
100 times over.
I would have the
Keep
money,
the money, bring her back. Yes.
But it's more like, at least it is giving me a footing to kind of stand on and kind of get myself together and understand like, all right, this is how I may move forward. So that's essentially what you should do in a relationship. You shouldn't plan for the fail.
That's right.
But you in your head can kind of think of like, all right, if this were to happen, this is how we need to go about it.
Yeah.
And I said that was the last thing, but this is the last thing.
No, please. You
But
go.
the only reason I say that you can't plan fully for the fall is because you can't get everything out of your relationship unless you put everything into that relationship. So there has to, it's what they say in investing, like risk and reward.
Yeah.
If it's high risk, it's high reward. If you're putting yourself all the way out there and putting yourself into a relationship all the way, you are exposing yourself a lot. So you can, it's like I said, that person that you're in a relationship with can hurt you worse than anybody else can hurt you.
100%.
Anybody else can hurt you.
They got the manual on
They
it.
got the manual. They got the key to the deepest safe. They got everything. But the reward, if you guys do that right, will surpass any other thing that you could. Like you said, we're all about companionship. That reward will surpass any other thing that you can feel from anybody else or that anybody else can give you. But unless you really invest all that you have into that relationship, you won't be able to get everything out of it. So you have to come to an understanding that even if this may not work out, even if this doesn't work out, I know that a chunk of me will probably be taken with it to a certain extent, because it'll take a lot out of me if this doesn't work out. But the only way I can get the most out of it is if I put everything I have into it. And that's what marriage and partnership is. Is this person worth taking this risk for?
Absolutely. I wanted to, I want to say to the person that wrote in, and really just to anybody who like struggles with this feeling of depending on someone, like this fear of depending on someone, like it's okay. It is actually okay to depend on the right person. It's okay to depend on the right people. Like it's okay. It's okay to release that. Even to your point, even if on the other end of that, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, that person will no longer be in the picture, either by the relationship failing or by death, by loss. You will still be okay. It will be tough. It will be hard. It will be a challenge that you will have to work through and overcome. But you're designed to do that. You actually are designed that way. Whether you think about it from a physical standpoint, you ever think about how magical it is that you can cut your skin and then it can heal as if that cut was never there? Your mind and your heart, while, I'm not saying you should take any and everything. They are muscles. They can be stretched. They can be pushed. They can be they can be challenged and they will be fine. Think about your life to this date. At 30 years old, I am sure that you have overcome some obstacles and you're fine. Even within this relationship, you said we had some rough patches. And guess what happened on the opposite end of those rough patches? In your own words, we are better lovers for it. We are better today for getting through this. So it's okay. Everything that you've laid out about this person says this person is worthy of love. This person is worthy of marriage and commitment. And so release yourself of that feeling of that you can't actually rely on them. Like Dre said, listen, do what you have to do without harming your relationship to give yourself comfort and security, but don't do it at the expense of your partner. Don't do it to the point where if you make $5,000 a month, where you're taking $4,000 of that to plan for a rainy day in case they leave you, instead of really giving the bulk of that to your relationship. If you get an extra $1,000 and you want to save that, you want to put that away, and that's just your savings, what you saving for, only you truly know, then cool. But when you are completely planning for failure, you will fail. You will manifest exactly what you're planning for.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's okay to depend on the right people. I depend on you to some degree. We're sitting here, we're having a podcast together. If I just sat here and I was talking and then you just looking at me in my face like, I would be like, hello, it would be awkward, right? Because this is the design of this relationship. We depend on each other to throw these conversations back and forth to make a whole sensible, hopefully sensible response to our viewers and listeners. So it's okay. It's really okay. I want to be in a relationship where I can depend on my man. What? I do not want to feel like I got to do it all. Child, I'm so tired of doing it all. I don't think y'all understand. I don't think you understand.
I mean, that's what our whole culture is really built off of. Oh man, what's the term? It's so many. It's the first thing you learn in economics. The first term. Basically, it's like Billy can pick 2 oranges and 3 apples in a day, and Johnny could pick 3 apples and 1 orange.
Okay.
And it's basically like it's like specialization. Instead of them both picking oranges and apples, then one person specializes in picking oranges, one person specializes in picking apples, and then they trade so you can have apples and you can have oranges. So in our society, that's what our economic capitalism, everything that we do is built off of that concept of trade. It's like, and money became the central thing that we can all use as a central thing to, buy whatever we need. But a lot of times before money was ever a thing, it was all trade. You're depending on other people to produce things so that you can have things of your own. So that's our society today. It's like you know how great it is that when you're hungry, you can just go in a store and it's dead chickens, dead fish, dead shrimp, like, and you can just pick it up and be like, fruit. You can just look at it,
Yep.
Like that's you depending. Somebody picked that.
It's almost like a myth that you are hyper independent. You are not. You are not. You are not.
You depend on so many people and so many things and so many systems and things in your life in order to be where you are today.
Yeah.
So this thought that you're a super independent person is like, no, none of us are really truly independent. None of us are living off the land. And, a lot of us aren't farming and and even the water that we get, like we didn't design the system that we're using to water those. Even if you are a farmer,
that's
that
why
water
these
comes
water
from
crises happen. Because if you really had your own means of getting water, this would not be a problem.
Yeah, it's very few people that are completely off the grid that do their own and have their own. All I'm saying is, you get my point, is that we're all dependent on each other in some type of way. Like Rhonda said, we are social beings. We are pack animals. We are herd animals to a certain extent. And we depend on each other to succeed as a group. So it's like, there's nothing wrong. I'm going to reiterate Rhonda's point. With depending on somebody.
There's nothing wrong with
that. It's
nothing.
It's actually amazing to find somebody you can depend on. To find, don't even think about like, I want to write don't even think about a person. Think about the different things in your life that you can always depend on, whether that's, I don't know, the bank that you use, that you always know that, they're dependable. Like the bank I use right now, false charge, they cut it right off. Like if I call them, they can get me a new card out in the next day. Like think about all the systems. Every Tuesday, you may go to Chick-fil-A and that person is there. The food come out on time. Like there are so many things that you depend on in your life, and understand how that feels to know that if I go to this place, this thing is always going to be there. If I do this thing was always going to happen the way that it needs to happen. And now, so, exchange that with your person and think about, like, if I could have that somebody that I can depend on like that, who I can just rely on to be there for me and to do things for me. I'm trying to tell you, that feeling is amazing.
It is. It very much is. I've experienced it in friendship and in familiar relationships, but I've also experienced it romantically, and it's enough to just like make you cry just at the thought that like I can close my eyes and fall back and you're there. Like you are there in theory, like you are always there, like for anything, for everything, even things where I'm thinking like,
listen,
he ain't gonna be down for this. And it's like, you actually are.
Partnership is amazing. I always say that to people. The smallest things to the biggest things.
That's why I say no matter what's going on out in these little streets that get interested in dating, you will not deter my mind and my heart from knowing that true love and true partnership is a beautiful thing.
That's like my cousin. He was like, oh, when you live by yourself, he said, if you leave that thing on the coffee table, you're going to leave and come back. You know where that thing's still going to be? On the coffee table. You know the only way it's gonna move from that coffee table? If you move that thing and you get up and you do it. Like, I love the things to where it's like, oh, you leave stuff on the floor, you come around, come back house clean, and you like, this is amazing.
I love her.
I know, right? It's like we have water bottles that we drink from every day, and it's like I go in the fridge, come back home, and it's like all my water bottles are filled up, and I'm like, it's like this is it.
This is it.
Yeah,
listen,
like I love this.
It's
the
so
partnership.
many ways that and
the small things, and then it shows up on a bigger level. But bringing it back ultimately to our writer, I just want you to do the work within yourself.
Sure.
To get over this fear that you have of the hyper, that leads to hyper independence. I want you to close off the feelings of others and what people are saying to you that maybe, make you feel like you have to take this route. I can tell you, as a married person, as a married man, you can develop your own independence within your relationship. And a lot of times I would say when a relationship and things are hitting a fan, I feel like you typically have enough time to devise a plan out. You know what I'm saying? When you could start to see things aren't going away, then you start to devise. All right, you start to think more and more about it if like things really aren't going away. So I feel like there's always time to figure out a way out that could make sense. It's not like this relationship doesn't work, cut off, whatever we have right now, that's what we got, and that's it. It's like you can devise or, start to figure out stuff.
Yeah. And I would only like give the caution of red flags, more so for partnership or people who really seek for someone to completely depend on them. Like for me, that would be a red flag. If I dated someone who really requires me to relinquish everything that I have, from the money that I earn to the relationships that I have in my life. Like, they don't want me to have friends. They don't want me to spend time with my family. They don't want me to really just do anything without them. That those are red flags. And when you have that, yes, you should be very leery of getting in a relationship with that type of person, because yes, you could look up 20 years from now and you have nothing because you really did sacrifice every single thing that was important to you to serve that relationship.
For sure.
She made that point, but it doesn't sound like that is who you are with. That is what you've seen. That is what you've heard. That is what people around you have told you has happened to them. But that is not what you see in your partner. If you don't see that in your partner, then you don't, that's it. That's who you are in a relationship with, not the one who can't be depended on. You're in a relationship with someone that you can depend on.
Yeah.
So that's it. Just the red flags of watching out for people who really do require you to like give up every single thing that you have to be with them. that's a recipe for you getting left high and dry with nothing, from your own emotional stability to financial stability. So we hope we were able to help.
Yeah. No, I think that was good. I think that was good.
I say so myself.
I want to add one thing as you were saying that it just made me think of, and I think we talked about this, but just you don't want imbalance in your relationship, and I think that the mindset that you have right now is grounds for like imbalance. That there should I've heard and talked to married couples to where, say for instance, they keep their money separate to the wife is like, I don't know how much he makes, or I don't know what he has, or like, oh, I had to borrow money from my husband. It's like, you had to borrow money from your husband?
Yeah.
What do you mean borrow money from your husband? Like,
it's
so you're living out here great. You got all these investments and you're flourishing and thriving while your partner is, maybe they're not like effing off and not doing what they're supposed to do, but maybe what they're yielding and the things they're yielding isn't as great as what you have.
Right.
So now you have an imbalanced life and an imbalanced lifestyle. And it's like, that is not grounds for a great, healthy relationship. It's not conducive for a healthy relationship. So that type of mindset is like, I'm a true believer in what's yours is mine, what's mine is yours. Like, this is a partnership. We're doing it together.
I got you. You got me.
Yep. When we got married, I was like, we got student loan debt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's ours now. Like,
it is.
It's us to figure out. It's us to take care of. It's so you don't want that imbalance in your relationship. And that's what even though you feel like it's you being independent, and it's going to lead to like imbalance in that relationship. And like I said last episode, every yes isn't created equal. Like the resentment, we could do a whole episode on resentment, because resentment is such a sneaky thing in relationships that people don't necessarily see until it's too late.
Till it's too late.
It like sneaks right up on you. It's hid by a lot of smiles and a lot of like nodding and a lot of yes,
because
until
we're so conditioned to do things for other people. That's why that happens. So you're not being honest about what you really want, what makes you feel good, what doesn't make you feel good. You go along with it. Anything that you act like you like to do will eventually crumble down. If you're like, I don't like when people say, I'm trying to be nice. Are you nice or are you not? If you're trying to be nice, you're probably not nice. If it feels like something you got to really work at, then it's not natural to you. So if you're acting like you're cool with something, that mask is going to fall off, and it rears its ugly head as resentment, because you decided to lie, because you decided to put on a mask. Now it's my fault. Now you're mad at me. Well, I gave up this for you. You told me you wanted to give this up for me. Sure. So how is that my fault? So anything you got to act like you doing,
and that imbalance causes resentment. Somebody sees you're thriving, you're shutting them out. Yeah, they envy you. And even if it's not real, or if it's not something that's actually happening, the resentment is, like I said, it's a tricky thing, man. And like I said, it'll be, by the time it really rears its ugly head, it's a lot of times it's very, not too late, but it's a lot that you'll have to overcome, because that thing is built up over a long period of time and through a lot of action. So yeah, that's my thing. Do you have any bad advice?
Oh, bad advice that works. I mean, maybe this might be a stretch, but I'm gonna go with it.
Okay.
Stay extremely hyper independent. It'll probably push your partner away, and you'll be single. And maybe that is just the life for you. Like, if you are truly someone, because everyone does not want to be in a relationship. Everyone does not want romantic partnership. They want friends, they want family, they want pets, they want all those things. Maybe that is what will work out for you, to stay hyper independent so that you can stay alone. You can stay single, uncoupled. That's a better word. You can stay uncoupled. Bad advice, because I don't think you should remain hyper independent. I think you should change that. For you. No, it's not good for you. It's a negative trauma response. So stay that way. Just also realize that you will likely or you will become uncoupled and then remain uncoupled, and perhaps that will be a good thing for you.
Got you.
Yes, that was a stretch. I did That was a stretch when I reached for that one. But what about you?
Oh man, bad advice. Well, you could remain hyper independent. Our bad advice is aligned there. I don't want you to take this advice, by the way. Do not take it. But this is our bad advice section.
Yeah,
that works or could work. You just set up your stuff in the relationship to always be in your name. Study the laws of the state that you get married in and what you're doing. And when you get the house, set up the house to where if things were to hit the fan,
you gotta go.
It's yours. It's it depends on the state. You got to look at the laws and different things like that. But set things up so that if there were a break, you'll be cool. You'd be Gucci.
Yeah. Wow.
Put things away. You can open up a bank account without somebody knowing. It's not the right thing to do if you're in partnership, but they'll if you operate the way you're supposed to do in a relationship, they won't know that you have anything hidden or anything in
get all your statements emailed to you. I mean,
nobody would even know.
Yeah.
Shouldn't do that though.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't take our bad advice. But what you should do, here's some good advice. You should write into us. If you have a real love scenario, go to relationshiprestore.com, hit the contact section, write in, try to include some details. Your age is usually kind of important and other things, that help us kind of shape the best way to advise you.
For sure.
But also follow us on social. I'm at Ronnie Cakes.
At Estray Smith.
And what else? Relationship Restored. Duh. Yeah. Make sure you do that.
We're growing.
Reviews. Subscribe. Share. Like. All the things.
All the things down
Do
there.
all those things. We'll catch you next week.
Peace.